Well, a federal grand jury has reportedly approved the first charges in the investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 US presidential election. The indictment was sealed under orders from a federal judge, so it's not clear what the charges are or who the target is.
Well, it's thought the indictment could be unsealed as early as tomorrow. Joining us to discuss this and the rest of the day's news from the US is Professor Ed Blakely. He's a former White House staffer for both Republican and Democrat presidents and now at the University of Sydney. Ed, welcome.
Welcome.
So big news. So we may know sometime tomorrow, but as mentioned there, don't know who, don't know what as far as the charges are concerned.
No, we don't know who or what, but we have some good guesses. Manafort is certainly on the top of that list. It may reach Trump Jr. So what Mueller's trying to do is to stave off all this publicity about him witch hunting, bring that to a close so that he has some indictments, and then behind those indictments he can go deeper into the investigations he needs to proceed on. But right now the president's trying to discredit everything Mueller's doing, so let's bring that to an end and get on with the job.
Will we see the president go on the attack?
He already started in his social media, attacking Mueller, attacking the investigation, and attacking the Steele files. So that attack has begun, and that's one of the reasons for this action, which seems to be relatively quick, because we know the investigations are not finished.
You're speculating possibility it could be Manafort. Just explain who he is and what his role was.
All right, Paul Manafort was leading the Republican campaign early on, and then I think he led it for about 3 or 4 months, and of course Donald changed him, and another one. But Paul Manafort has had very close links with the Russians that were not reported to the U.S. government, and that is against the law. He's also had relationships with other people around the world, again unreported, against the law. So Paul Manafort is a likely first target because he's all over. And then we have Flynn, Michael Flynn, who worked as the president's special counsel on international affairs. He was booted out because he had dirt on his hands with respect to dealing with the Russians. So those people are really top of the tree.
Dare I say, could this be a house of cards? You see one fall and the whole pack will go.
Well, what Mueller's expecting is the president will intervene at some point, and then he's obstructing justice. So he has the Comey investigation, all the tapes from that. Then when he was on the airplane and called back to dictate what his son should be saying, that was obstructing justice. Now, one more thing, like an attempt to axe Mueller, an attempt to stop an investigation, he has to go by Sessions. When he does any one of those things, he's boxed in. He has one more shot. The question is what it's going to be. I think he's going to try to use his social media.
Ed, we also saw this week some Republicans take aim at Donald Trump. Jeff Flake says that it's the tipping point, that we'll now just see a lot more Republicans come out and criticise the president. Is he right?
He's absolutely right. Flake is not a flake. He is a very smart man. He's written a book. He's laid out the cause. In addition, we have McCain. And John McCain ran for president. Again, not a person who's suspect. Bob Cocker from Tennessee, a middle state, not a person who's suspicious, and he was a Trump supporter. So these people are leading the charge, but Lindsey Graham's just in the background, and other Republicans are out there. So the Democrats are cooling it now, letting the Republicans do the work.
Is it more about style or more about substance that they're attacking?
It is both. This is not a matter of style. This president has crossed the line. The United States is in deep trouble around the world. Unraveling Iran can unravel North Korea. So we really have to be very careful about what we do in the office of the president.
Now, you mention Iran and North Korea, and that's clearly a concern the Australians have, because Julie Bishop has essentially warned Donald Trump that a backflip on Iran undermines efforts with North Korea.
It absolutely does, and that's why we're so anxious about the president going out and doing foreign relations. Because in the background, The Iranians have made a deal. We're trying to make a deal with the North Koreans. The North Koreans have to trust that deal. So everyone in the peace has to be trustworthy. Deals like this, and I was in the State Department, are done by a group of people over a long period of time. You go deep into the bureaucracies. So that even the president of North Korea is held accountable for the deal. That's what's happened in Iran. The Iranian total bureaucracy is being held accountable for that deal. That kind of accountability can't go awry. And the President of the United States is not the person to be sending those kinds of signals.
On North Korea, we've seen this continued escalation of this war of words, really, between Donald Trump and North Korea's leader. But the Democrats have done something this week that kind of takes the heat out of it, that winds it back a little bit.
Well, that's true. They're trying to cut off the president's power to do a deal. And even if they were successful, that rhetoric doesn't change. You can't stop the president's rhetoric.
Because he does it through social media.
He does it through social media. He's not doing it in a formal way. So what the Democrats are doing is starting their own social media, in a sense, getting out front. We have to stop this president. But internally, the President of the United States, you take the power of this president away, you take the power of future presidents away. So they have to be very careful with this. A Democrat might be the next president. You don't want to make changes that are irrevocable.
And Ed, as I was saying, Julie Bishop obviously concerned about Donald Trump's stance, particularly as far as Iran is concerned. She seems to have a good, close working relationship with Rex Tillerson. The question, of course, is just how much influence Rex Tillerson now has in the White House.
Rex Tillerson has power around the world. That's very important. Remember, when he was appointed, I said, who's he? But he has shown very carefully and very astutely that he's working with the other governments and now has a staff in the State Department behind him. So Rex Tillerson is the United States front person to the world. We've got to keep him.
Now, on Russia, is Putin changing his tune a little bit on Donald Trump?
I think he's having buyer's remorse here. Donald Trump is not what he thought he would be. Donald Trump is a wild card. Putin cannot afford that. His economy is in bad shape. He thought by having a president that he could work with, he could build his own economy back, even get back some of those Russian finance deals that were cut off by the Congress. It's turned all the way around. And now things are unraveling around him. Some of his people are under investigation by the FBI. That is not what he bargained for.
But surely Putin knew that Donald Trump was a wild card. Did he just think that he was a wild card perhaps on his side?
It's very hard when you're outside the United States to judge American political systems. And Putin, to say this about him, he actually runs his country. So he wasn't paying attention to everything that was going on. Remember, the Putin people were looking at a number of Americans. They even tried to get into the Hillary campaign. They tried to get into a number of other campaigns. And Trump was the softest target.
But on that front, obviously it came down to those two choices, Clinton or Trump. And clearly Putin, in his dealings with Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, was not pleased. So more likely to go with Trump and perhaps saw him as being somewhat pliable.
Yes, that's right. If Clinton had gone in, he would have had some people around her campaign, he was hoping. That wasn't working out, so Trump became... I don't think Putin or Trump thought he'd win, but think of the number of Republicans you'd have working for you in the United States post-election. So he thought this was a win-win. It's now turning out to be a lose-lose.
Ed, just before you go, of course, we had the release of the JFK files yesterday. Not all files released. Donald Trump said he wanted them all released. What was your take on that as to whether it actually puts to bed some of those conspiracy theories or perhaps just gives them more fuel?
I'm waiting for the Conspiracy 2 movie where they build on that. And I think this is a teaser. The real stuff is still under seal, and it's going to give the conspiracy people a lot of chance to make movies. Now with YouTube, we're going to see an awful lot of that. And pretty soon, people will be on the moon doing JFK.
Professor Ed Blakely, Always great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.